Hey YouTube, how's it going? You ever hear the expression, when it rains, it pours? How about when the wind is here, it really blows? Yeah. And I mean that more than one way, because today we had a lot of high winds today, gusting 30, 40 miles an hour, and I think it was at some point it was gusting a lot more than that, because it was getting really stiff out there. Serious stiff wind, the kind that would knock you over and run you down the street, you know. Lots of wind, and that sort of thing happens this time of year around here. And that's not the big deal. The big deal is, well, earlier today, as in late morning, early afternoon, 11, between 11 and 12:30, I had actually recorded today's vlog already then. I had. As a matter of fact, I started the upload. And I really wanted to get that done because in that video I was talking about how today was going to be a live stream day and I was going to do some stuff in Creativerse and so on. And yeah, the upload got started. A minute and a half after it started, the power here kind of blinked. You know, where it goes off and back on real quick. My assumption as to the cause, it has to do with those high winds. Because it blinked probably 15 or 20 or more times after that, through the course of the afternoon. But it did more than that. You see, when that power blinked, it wasn't off for more than just a split second, but it was enough to make the computer reboot. And when the computer rebooted, it took longer than usual, which is considerably long time, because it takes like 3 or 4 minutes for that thing to boot up, get to the point where I'm looking at the desktop login screen. And then another minute or so while all the assorted things from the background get loaded in and started up and so on. And as actually gets to from power on to the point where I can actually start using it and doing things is generally 4 or 5 minutes. This time it was closer to 7, I think. I don't know for certain because I didn't actually time it, but the reason was actually self-evident as I got logged into the desktop, because the second monitor never lit back up. Now mind you, there's nothing wrong with the second monitor. Not a thing. Except for the fact that it has a little thing, it had a little thing on its display that said no signal. It's not getting a video signal from the computer. And we all know what that means. It means that the hardware that creates that signal is not functioning. Fortunately, we're not talking about, the good news is that we're not talking about my graphics card. That's just fine. That's working great. But, you see, the monitor, now, in past graphics cards, they've had 2 of those connections where you can plug a monitor into. This one only has 1. Of course, it has several other kinds of connections, including HDMI and so on, stuff that I don't have anything that uses it. And this one don't. So, as a workaround, I arranged to be able to plug the monitor into the motherboard's built-in video port. And that was, it was a little bit of a dance around to get the right drivers available to make it work, but it does. Well, it did. Until this afternoon when the power blink hit. Now it doesn't. The computer can't even see that hardware anymore. And when the computer can't even detect the hardware, you know that the hardware is dead. The problem with it is that this hardware is inbuilt on the motherboard. And over the years, one thing I have learned about motherboards is that anytime anything on a computer motherboard goes bad and stops working, you want to start looking to get a replacement board ASAP, because the rest of it is going to die too. The only question is when. Yeah. So I've been looking around trying to figure out what I'm going to do with that, and how I'm going to, what I'm going to rearrange in order to be able to pay for doing something about it, because it's kind of majorly important. The computer is like the center of just about most of what I do these days. Even if I could watch television, I wouldn't want to. It's drivel. Anyway, so I'm working on figuring that out. In the meantime, things seem to be stable. And I'll tell you what, just to spite the circumstances, plus aside from the fact that I want to, tomorrow afternoon, starting 2 p.m. Central Time, it will be live stream. There will be some Creativerse stuff going on. And yeah, and the only proviso is, of course, weather permitting. If the high winds crank up again, I'm going to either wait until it's over with or just call it in the first place. I don't want to risk any more problems. Power failures are not good, and all that stuff. They cause problems. In any event, that's what I'm going to try to go for. And, oh, I almost forgot about the dietary numbers that I've been tracking. For yesterday, 288.4 was yesterday's weigh-in, and 1,345 was yesterday's calories. I thought I had the carbs there. Yeah, 46.2. I misplaced the number. Anyway, today, 286.1 for the 18th, and 1,178 calories. Speak. It's easy. 1,178 calories, 67.4 carbs, and the carbs are looking better today than they did yesterday, than that 67.4, so I'm thinking it'll be all right and work out. And so, here's hoping that I can find a good solution. Ideally, what I want to do is to find a new working version of the same motherboard that's already in there now, because that way Windows won't have a hissy fit when it sees a major hardware change, because I'll just be putting a new one of the same kind back in there. Hey, that MSI motherboard was a pretty good one, It is a pretty good model. Anyway, I've been yakking for over 9 minutes now. It's time for me to shut up. Thanks for watching. Take it easy. I am out of here. Further update tomorrow, I hope. Research and